Morning, fellas. What's good? What's good? Not much movement from yesterday, actually. First night we haven't had kind of a large overrun or overnight run. We did get up into our 15-minute yesterday. Obviously, we had that huge sell-off simply wicking back into this discount, so we're kind of at a standstill, in my opinion. Ideally, I would like to see us try to get lower. Let's maybe revisit these first presented fair value gaps here. Retest our daily open. Let's see, 4 hour cents. Yeah, I think we'll look for that this morning. The daily open here. Clear the short-term high. So we'll look for a break of the low. And then I like this sell side here, just above our daily open. Pretty much anchored to the new week opening gap midpoint as well. Cool, okay. So we'll see what we get off the open. I can see us retesting 830 here. We've left this fair value gap. If we're going to want to give a deeper retracement, we do have an open fair value gap here. But seeing how we delivered, this one should be kind of a breakaway. And if we're going to be heavy, use our 830 opening. We're going to look at this swing low as well, another area of liquidity that's pretty much right near our midpoint. So 2 sell side targets will favor a run lower this morning. Here's NQ. And NQ, we'll kind of look for first presented, which would be here from yesterday. Yeah, okay. Somewhat of a mixed opening. If we could follow through yesterday's first presented after holding a premium, kind of like that area for the potential short. For now, we'll give it some time though. As we said, mixed opening, so we'll let price kind of meander. If we end up inverting this fair value gap, get back above 830, then we would look for this inefficiency here. And Q is a little strong actually, really strong. So it's accelerating straight through that high. We'll see if it wants to retest previous day's high. We do get the inversion. See if that gets left open. Nope, immediate closure. Okay. So going to be more of an efficient delivery, but we're going to watch that, right? We would expect if we're going to want to invert that, we may try to hold it. Still very early in the morning. We'll watch if NQ wants to make that fair value gap there. No, okay. NQ hits half standard deviation point here. Clears the equal highs. We did fall just short of previous day's high. but we've cleared a lot of buy side on the way up. Right, we've cleared these highs, and now we've cleared these relative equal highs. I'll be curious to see if NQ is going to fall back on itself. Still looking for ES to try to actually break through first presented. Pain outside the lines, immediately they'll reject, get back below that. So we would expect price to try to stay bearish, seeing something like that. Next, we're going to see what kind of interaction we get at yesterday's first presented here. We get below that, we like the idea of trying to run lower. We deliver perfectly into the low of yesterday's first presented. If we're going to close back above our opening range, we could expect and see a potential run back up into this here, fair value gap. Create more of a choppy opening, especially with NQ not even running that low. Right, the opening low we created is held pretty aggressively. There's closure above opening range, so we would expect retest the first presented to be met with support. So far, it looks like we'll probably wait till 10 o'clock. Past week or so, most of the moves have taken place right at that 10 o'clock hour. First 30 minutes have kind of been opening to stabilize price. And then we'll get that a new 4-hour candle to open at 10 o'clock, which will produce pretty meaty moves. Looks like that may happen again today. I'm looking here at this. So we invert the last fair value gap before the buy side in NQ, and now we're kind of holding that. We're not getting a little wicky, of course, but bodies are respecting that. I'm looking at this kind of as the same respect as our first presented here. As far as if we're going to want to be bullish, we'll try to hold that fair value gap. Same here in ES. If we could fall through, close below, reclaim it bearish, then we could retest our opening. Conversely, we'd look for price to close below first presented here in ES, and then attack our sell side pools. First closure below, nice. We do have a 1 minute here that could actually hold price if it wants to. So we're going to have to look for price to fall through that as well. Does that delivery perfectly into it. Currently we have SMT at this highs up here. So if we do break through this low, break below kind of our opening low here, this swing point, I like the idea of staying heavy from there. Right in a 15-minute sense, just real quick. Here at 9:30, we run up and clear that swing point that we had created in ES as well. Whereas this 15 simply holds that inversion level. and we've closed below the swing point. So in the yes, as we said, if we can get below kind of our opening low, should set the stage for a sell-off. Retesting the now reclaimed fair value gap. We'll see if we're going to try to hold that. Back-to-back volume imbalances here. If that gets left open as we leave our opening range once again, we could see that be short-term support, with this low trying to be held as we trade up into this little 1 minute inefficiency. But that's an opportunity there. And Q is holding that nicely. Wick's doing the damage, but body's laser precision there at that. Okay, and we actually close that in. So no volume imbalance, suspension block there. Retesting first presented once again. All right, if we get closure below that, we might try going in here. I like that swing point. I'd like to see NQ try to close below this low. All right, let's see if we can leave the inefficiency. So we won't go in on first test of that just because kind of the nature where we are in the morning, right? We've been a little up and down a lot. I'd rather see us try to confirm some bearishness by closing once again below this swing point and leaving an actual bearish fair value gap there. If we could do that, it'll be anchored to yesterday's. We'll be fine using that as well. Right away though, this could have been seen as potential entry, right? Just using that on the first test. But I'd like to see a little bit of confirmation. So we invert this fair value gap, same idea. We'll see if we leave a first presented there. Looks like we're going to. So we're going to try to give this an opportunity, like the swing high. Just getting ready for it. We close it in. That is unfortunate. We're going to hang off for a little bit here. May hold and we could just miss it. I'm fine missing a run lower at this point. Didn't give us the price action I wanted to see, so not much to do. When we're showing signs of kind of this choppier opening, I'm really demanding of what we need to see before we look to enter. So had this fair value gap been aligned with our old first presented, we would have trusted that. Because we weren't able to do that, we'll just let it play out a little bit more. And looks to be a good thing because we immediately revert right back up above our opening range once again. And as we spoke about, NQ was actually unable to close below that low. So I don't like that either. Right, that's pretty aggressive signature of just trying to run that short-term low, especially when it's this early in the morning. Heck, if anything, this looks a little more bullish here, actually, for a short-term run. Let's see if we leave this suspension block here. Just something simple. 1 to 2 into this inefficiency. I like the fact, or I like trying to get up here before we actually break lower. Okay. We'll give this a shot. Pretty much same risk. I'm liking this one because, right, this displacement back below the first presented, clearing these lows here, in reality, if we wanted to stay bearish, we should have tried to respect either the fair value gap or just the first presented. So when we create that suspension block now, back-to-back volume imbalances, trading right above it, that makes me believe that we will try to actually get into this. We might just do it right away. There's a pretty large candle there. So I was looking for more, just a closure above opening range and then a retest. We'll see if 830 can hold in the short term. We're going to look to use a retest of yesterday's first presented as our entry. And for this one, we'll actually just target fair value gap here. So an internal range imbalance rather than looking for like an external swing point or even buy side really. This fair value gap here has my attention in NQ. Same idea, we create the suspension block after clearing that short-term low. So I'd also like to see something like this try to hold. We may run into an issue of this being a breakaway gap though. Price has already been balanced here. Yeah, so we immediately rebalance this, making me think we might just accelerate straight into that, to be honest. This will be left open. When we see an immediate rebalance like this, that's often followed by large uprange candles just like that into that inefficiency. So no entry there. Still fine. Very early, not in a rush. At this point, we'll look for inversion, potentially. We're going to try to form a bullish breaker. This should become a breakaway here in NQ if we're going to stay bullish. NQ clears a high again. So NQ running highs pretty easily. Let's see if we want to close above previous day's high. Okay. So if we want to go bullish, we'll be able to flip that. We have some targets still. Really that same 15-minute I still like. Oh, it's gone now. New week opening gap, however, previous day's high. I want to see if NQ is going to stay above previous day's high here now. So NQ's already cleared previous day's high. If we're going to have more room to the upside, ES can give a pretty substantial move if it's going to try to catch up to that. We left the first presented here, anchored to this bullish breaker. I want to see if it gets actually left open though. We can close it in with this candlestick. We do, okay. So we'll look for more just, not really inefficiencies, but the bullish breaker now. If we're gonna hold the immediate rebalance, get above 830 and we want to stay bullish, bullish breaker should be the next support. And then more than likely it's gonna try to run into buy side here. If we can fall through the breaker, I like the idea of still coming right midpoint. We're favoring shorts this morning, as we said. On a higher time frame, it just looks a little bit more juicy. Really, the past few days, right, kind of the same has happened. We've had that consolidation overnight, the run up, and then the sell off. Right, the slow run up, the sell off. We're kind of looking for the same thing. Slow run up, and then see if we can't sell off to clear all that sell side. If we could invert the breaker, that'd be ideal. Kind of wild action today, this morning. Cool. All right. Let's see if we can leave that open there. Right back into first presented. At this point, we've picked up some buy side, however. So we didn't get this high, but we did get this high here. Did we get this high? We also got that high. 2 sets of buy side cleared. Rejection block holds, mitigation block as well. Okay. Let's see if we can leave this first presented anchored to our 8:30 opening. First presented, created, anchored to 8:30. We invert the breaker block. Ideally, I'd like to see us break a low before we try to get in. If we can close below this low, then we'll look for the retracement into our first presented to enter on. We've fully closed in the daily fair value gap at this point. That's also another reason I'd like to kind of see a sell-off here, right? So if we look at the daily, that huge range that we created, we closed in that fair value gap. So if we're going to want to create another break, we really should be done. That high should be protected. This high here. All right, let's look for closure below first presented again. See if we can get it this time. Once again, we want to see back-to-back closures ideally. 950 here. Low, high, lower, low, higher, high, lower, low. Potentially seek and destroy this morning. So we really will wait until 10 o'clock. I want that new 4-hour candlestick to open. We have the beginnings of that seek and destroy. 10 o'clock should either confirm that by running a high again, or it'll kind of break out of that cycle and we should sell off at this point. Yeah, like that 2505 there. Always like seeing midpoint, new week opening gap. So those lows right above new week opening gap. Right, that's always nice to see. Liquidity kind of paired with higher time frame inefficiency, algorithmic. Potential bearish breaker here as well. So if we could sell off, that'd be nice. Start running some lows. And the inversion. Pretty. Right, when we start getting all those confluences, we always like seeing that. First closure below. NQ runs a low again, but right, as we said, simply a wick. So still a little iffy. 10 o'clock is for sure going to be our wait time. Excuse me. So we paint outside the lines of yesterday's first presented. We do hold the opening range, however, paired with our up close candle. We'll see if that's going to break back below. NQ is trying to create seek and destroy here, so we're going to invert today's first presented. We're going to invert the bearish fair value gap after clearing liquidity. That'll tend to lead to that acceleration again. So more than likely, yeah, we're kind of expecting that seek and destroy until we get the true release. Look for one more run into previous day's high potentially here. Same thing took place in ES where we wick the lows. No closure, right? No real force. No conviction behind that closure. Brother, alrighty. That's alright. Oh yeah, it's always a beauty. Them overlapping PD arrays. As we say, nothing's random. That's how you build those A+ setups right there. Now we just need to release into the target. But at this point, we expect 10 o'clock. So honestly, I wouldn't mind if we could run that high one more time before the true break lower. That'd be pretty nice. Because at that point, we're probably going to shake out everybody this morning that's already trying to chase it higher or lower. Create one more false breakout, then create the true kind of expansion of the day. Lower, ideally, of course, right? Added confluence for that kind of setup would be NQ running that high while ES actually holds like first presented. That'd be nice as well. So we are going to have a large fair value gap here. This fair value gap is the same fair value gap here on ES. So as we trade into that, we'll watch what takes place there. But we fully expect that to be pretty much traded through and for this high to be targeted one last time before 10 o'clock. First test that first presented, hard rejection. Yeah, if we don't run this high then, and we actually break, we open at 10 o'clock, at that point we wouldn't mind just holding either this fair value gap, or even trying to run this short-term high and leaving this left alone. But that high is engaged, previous day's high already. So if we can create a protected swing point here, that'd be a pretty nice area for a stop. Understanding it's above yesterday's high, it's above an intermediate swing point as well. But we really have to see conviction with a closure below. Right? Anytime we've ran low so far this morning, it's simply been a wick, no true break. We need to see really displacement through a low for me to trust that we're kind of done spending time up here. ES just getting stuck in that first presented. Let me bring up the quadrants of our opening range real quick as well, just to kind of point that out. So we're also holding at the upper quadrant here. Ideally, we get one more pump before the break. We don't want to see it just break from here. Has a possibility, but XAU. Oh yeah, gold's gone, bruh. With where we are in the world right now. Gold's going 5,000. So yeah, I can see that. Gold, silver, all those metals. Cobalt. Copper. All right, here's 10 o'clock. So as we said, I wouldn't mind retesting that one more, giving us a break following 10 o'clock, and then creating the true move. At the time being, this is an intermediate swing point here, same as ES. 10 o'clock opening coming, and let's see if the opening's here as well, so we might just try to use that. Power of 3 running up into the first presented first, entering above the open. We have a 2-minute volume imbalance here. We might try to use that. Paired with 8:30. Oh, are they? That's funny. Hey, it's the new hot commodity, man. It's like when Bitcoin first started pumping. Yeah, for real. You see an asset that just goes up. Don't want to miss out on that, right? All right, we're going to do this here. And we'll go 0.5%. 0.2%. 2 contracts. So we'll look for more. It's going to be like a turtle soup entry, also utilizing 8:30, utilizing a volume imbalance, utilizing midpoint of first presented. So once again, a lot of PD arrays overlapping there. We're going to go in with the idea that we believe we want to create a bearish 1-hour candlestick. So entering above its opening price will give us the best entry point. Entering in that premium wick. We're also looking for that. We've also inverted the bullish breaker here. So now that in itself can be used as a PD array. And you'll notice how mean threshold of that is pretty much the same exact level, right? So a lot of converging PD arrays there. Let's try to use that to get short. Holy cow, it's actually pretty hideous. That's right. It tends to lead to nice releases, so let's see if we can get it. Jay, the NQ bandit. Yeah, we got more NQ traders now. Uh-oh, alright. Let's see if we get it. Displacement back below first presented. We hit midpoint. ES does not, or NQ does not, though. Interesting. So we'll still look for that retracement, ideally. If we leave this fair value gap here, though, we might not want to retest that one more time. See if NQ can't get bullish. Immediate rebalance here. We'll see if that's going to give up or if it's actually going to hold and get bearish from there. We've already created a wick to the upside. After immediate rebalances, that's when we'll tend to see like large candles if it's going to want to run bearish. So that's what we're looking for. Seeing if we get large down close candle that tries to attack sell side. If we can hold first presented, we still have a chance of getting our entry. Creating a lot of lows here just above the actual sell side that we're trying to target. And right above our midpoint. At that point we did hit midpoint, but it's a little too clean in my opinion. Right, perfect low, perfect delivery, especially because we do have sell side resting just below that as well. So I'd like to see us run up almost like a miniature seek and destroy within this little fractal, pick up the high, come back for those lows. And Q, ideally we would hold this fair value gap. We'll see what it offers us. NQ did run the short-term high relative to ES. We're hoping that ES can actually run that high as well and not just break from here. If we get back underneath our first presented, that may be all price is going to try to do with NQ running that high. Absolute barcoding here. We don't want to see closure below this. Ideally though, that could allow a pretty quick release. We do. Okay. More than likely we're going to run into the sell side first. Fall short of it, I wouldn't mind that, honestly. Just pick up that low. Once again, no conviction. We tap into that low, we reject. Let's see if we can reject back up into the high. Well, NQ does not clear the low again. So, mix again. I'm still favoring manipulation into the buy side before the break. Five-minute sense, not much. We do have the 5-minute rejection block. 2-minute volume imbalance is kind of what we're looking at there. This is actually very terrible. There's a small fair value gap there. Anchored inside our first presented. That may try to hold. That'd be unfortunate. Yeah, 5-minute barcode for sure. Yesterday gave a good expansion, but today not so much. See if 1030 can't help us out here. 930 to 1030 consolidates. Usually 1030 allows a release. Juicy. Yeah, that was juicy. We get nice releases. That's the good thing. When we get runs, they're pretty exaggerated runs. So that's the good thing. Is that we're back to kind of targeting like external ranges rather than just internally moving. So if we can get a release, it's nice in the fall because you can kind of let those trades run a little bit more. Currently though, yeah, this is terrible right here. This is where we would like to enter in the middle of the range. And if we just end up holding first presented, which it really looks like we're going to do, the more time that we spend right here, the easier it's going to be to just fall. So we'll look for that sell side, yeah. We're going to get that sell side first. Once we hit this, maybe we can get the retracement into entry. The higher, yeah. When we're moving good, those higher time frames, those reversals create very extended moves, which is nice. So there is that sell side, unfortunate, right? We just used first presented. NQ actually finally picks up a low. I want to see if we're going to hold that sell side here. We have a lot of fair value gaps, right? A bunch of 2 minutes, 5 minute, 5 minute, 15. So currently ES a little bit heavier, a lot heavier than NQ. We get the first closure below a swing point. We'll see if that holds. Same idea. We'll see if this holds as well. If we do leave this open, we might just have to go in on that sell side there. And say that we don't want to revisit this first presented, so this will be our protected swing point. There goes NQ. There's our second sell side target. New day opening gap is really all that we had left. Equal lows. Okay. We'll just try to use this little fair value gap here as we break. And look for a continuation. Can I move my stop, please? Oh my. Ideally, we leave this swing point protected there, so we're going to just try to enter on this old low. And then we will target the low of the 4-hour fair value gap that we're in. Actually, I like the idea of trying to get midnight. We'll target midnight. So we're in there. We want to see this hold and continue to fall now. This isn't also a first presented as well, right? I'm gonna go to a 2 minute. You can see that, so that's why we're getting short there. First presented, fair value gap. We've broken lower. Everything here and above is balanced, so if we want to stay heavy, we should just be able to fall. And Q did leave a very small fair value gap, so we can see the high of the opening range paired with 830 being kind of that resistance zone in NQ right now. There's that opening range. From here, we want NQ to hold, as we say, break. We could see NQ come into, I like midpoint there. If you get real heavy, old first presented, or even midnight there as well. Looks like we're going to invert. Inverting will not be ideal, especially because we're holding that. So as we entered here and we retested this sell side, we would have wanted that to break. Holding that and then inverting, a little more bullish. So we'll look for a retest to first presented. Low would have to hold. If we're going to get all the way up and through it again. Stop there. Oh, not quite yet. Say we get stopped here, we're going to wait for this high. There it is. Okay. So originally it holds, and then we displace right through that. I'm not convinced we're going to want to fully break higher quite yet. If we accelerate through, first presented here, especially here, then this may be actually more of a sell side run, and then it's going to want to target the highs again. So we'll see. Another run on the low. Yeah, just we do get closure above. Holding opening range, however. At this point, we would want to see this high. If we're going to spend this much time kind of just not really trying to break through lows aggressively, each time we run a low, we reject. We'll look to try to clear buy side first. Yeah, that's super ugly in both here. We pick up the sell side. What's the 5 looking like? We'll see if we can get above this fair value gap now. NQ did clear the 830 opening low here on this run. Holding at that fair value gap once again. If we're going to be bullish though, we would expect that NQ is going to try to hold this fair value gap here. So we'll look for the retracement. That's pretty much this fair value gap in ES. As we said, at this point, we would like to see us try to actually run this high. If we're going to keep running short-term lows like this, okay, from here we actually do want to see release higher. We're going to go long now. Right, so we're creating a consolidation here. We've already closed above first presented though. We inverted that fair value gap. That should have held us if we want to stay bullish. We could not even clear the low. As we pick up sell side, we've already delivered into midpoint. So we're actually going to look for the reversal to target the high here. Wouldn't mind us hitting this first presented from today, retracing into this fair value gap, and then running higher. First presented there. This could be a breakaway. Ideally, we see this try to hold, break, pick up the short-term low, hit the fair value gap, and then run. But as you said, everything in here, especially where this fair value gap was already created, has been efficiently repriced and rebalanced. So as we create this small consolidation, break away from that, we could see the swing lows in here being the new form of protected swing points, especially if we're going to leave that inefficiency open there. NQ retesting that fair value gap. Closure above that, right, we would expect that release. $10.23. Okay. We're going to use the order block and treat this as a breakaway here. Same idea in NQ, right? We hold that fair value gap, we hold it, we hold it, we hold it. We displace through it. This could be the breakaway. Really no need to return down into this. We leave the fair value gap, so yeah, we're fine trying to enter there. We'll give it a little bit more low barrier for entry. We'll just use midpoint of that fair value gap. Stop below the down close candle. So same idea. We want this to be a breakaway. Hold here. Fell just short of that intermediate swing point. We'd like to see that hold. Accelerate again. We get entered here. See if we can run now. Still can hold mid or opening range. That's fine. We did get back underneath today's first presented, but we have a lot of other discounts here that we can trust in. And we're going to have to go down to go up anyways. So we want to enter here. We just don't want to see what kind of took place there. We don't want this candle to start holding that as a premium. Ideally, we just push back up through this, closing either inside of it or above its midpoint, showing a willingness to now regain that as a discount and just continue to push. Perfect redelivery here. So same idea. We'd want to see just expansion. And Q already got previous day's high once, so we would look all the way up here. New day opening gap. First presented here as well. If we're going to get real aggressive, right, we create some large runs. We could get half standard deviation in ES, which would get us, I like this 1 hour here, potentially. Pretty much refilling that whole fall off from Friday. Try to get back up there. Cool. All right, we'll see what we get. So we'll look for a run up into that in NQ. And then obviously for ES, we'll just look for a run into buy side here. Aggressive dump. Okay. NQ does want to revisit. We do need to get back into the fair value gap. Second stop out there. 0.5% total. Still really range bound. Debating if we give one more entry. What time? 10:30. We'll wait till 10:30. We just haven't moved much. Getting stuck in the high and the low. We'll see if we want to hold the actual fair value gap here. We did pick up the low, still not shaken out of the actual opportunity to get long. I want to see if we can get actual midpoint of this, however, first. Hourly candle, very indecisive. Right, so in reality, we are just kind of consolidating here, range bound, continuing to revert to our hourly candlestick opening price. Not much movement higher or lower, more sideways. Potential volume imbalance in here. I want to see what that does for price as well as the bearish fair value gap now. So as we displace back into the fair value gap, we're going to leave a new premium. It's giving us the deeper retracements we ideally wouldn't want to see. High resistance liquidity runs. If we were to invert this fair value gap, we're going to get back above first presented and the opening range again. I'm fine with giving one less opportunity to try to catch the release higher if we're going to get back above our opening range. In this case, we would actually use first presented and allow for this entire fair value gap because we didn't get its midpoint. Because of that, we have an opportunity or a chance to want to run the short-term low and hold its midpoint. Right, we still like seeing that release. We're still going to favor the run higher. Do we close below? We close below our opening range and the bearish fair value gap at the same time. I'd like to see that confirmed, so we'll wait for it to actually close, leave that open, and then we'll look to enter on that. Doom. Mm-hmm. 15, not one fair value gap, or in the 5. Sheesh, or the 15. 1 on the 2. Geez, that is just ugly. Did we hold that? Okay, we did leave the fair value gap. This will be our last entry of the day here. Look for the expansion. If we can break above this high here, getting back above our opening range and actually closing above it for the first time, we're going to put a stop to this swing point. Because at that point, right, this low runs and picks up the short-term low, it holds the discount. We'll create a new discount if we can actually invert and get above our first presented for the first time. First time we ran into it here, we got stuck. So we'll look for a true closure above this time. If we do that, we'll like that. Stop will get adjusted and we'll cut out some of the risk. And we'll aim for the actual 15-minute fair value gap up here. 10:30 now. So the morning 9:30 to 10:30 range has been put in place. High, low. We're right at equilibrium. We'll look for that release now, going into the lunch hour. Right, so ideally we wanted to see that candle run bearish. It did create a pretty large bearish wick. We're able to enter near its opening price. At this point, we want to see it run away. We'll take one partial at this high, and then we'll leave the rest to run for that 15-minute. Oh, sheesh, even the run's high resistance. Still no closure above. Need to see closure above here. At this point, we really should hold this now. Was that closure above? Okay, closure above means stop gets adjusted. And it actually means we're going to add one more there. Try to build in a position here a little bit. I'm going to use midpoint of that. Ooh, immediate rebalance right there. Might not get this one. That's fine if we don't. Clear the high. We don't actually close. Let's see how we close. Closed right on that level. So we can see the retracement here into this fair value gap. We use the high. That might have been all. We were looking for midpoint. High of it might be the most sensitive. More than likely, we're going to expand there. We did pick up that candlestick low, so the expansion would come following that. We'll just use the high of it. Could see one more test of that. Go low hanging fruit entry. Ideally, NQ would hold this high here. That's kind of the balanced range that we are within. Huge breaker block. Which means we would hold first presented here as we retest this in ES. So we get one more added there. This point stop will be underneath first presented. We want this first presented to be what holds now. Holding first presented nicely there. We'll actually just have that up so we could see it. This becomes the discount that we need to hold pretty much. NQ held that old high pretty well. We want to see it just continue to lift, come up into this fair value gap. Nice. So we should get our first partial. We were able to add another, which means we could actually try to let this run a little bit, maybe up till 11:10. See if we can't get the release finally. Right, 10:30 as we say, 9:30 to 10:30 consolidates. 10:30 to 11:30 will often create a move. Partial 1. It's pretty aggressive, so yeah, we're gonna partial 2 there. And then I don't mind letting this try to move a little bit more. Partial there. At this point, stop under first presented. No need to even test that. Okay. Do we have anything else up here? As we said, I kind of like, is that half standard deviation? We'll let it really try to release for that last one. Second partial there. So yeah, we'll let that last one try to just run for a bit. Cuckoo. Okay, finally get the nice release there. Just took a few entries. Oh, sorry, Jay, I just saw your message. I only have one. Just one currently. I'm actually venturing more into personal fund route, so I haven't really messed with funded as of late. So yeah, final exit, well, stop will be here. We shouldn't even come back down into that. That should be a breakaway, ideally. To your question, Jay, that just made me think of this. I've actually been in talks with Tradeify. I'm sure some of you know them. I've looked at their accounts before. They seem interesting, but we're actually discussing an affiliation to where I would trade that account. Right now, I do paper entries, of course, just kind of for protection of me. You guys understand that as well. But if we were going to affiliate, I would actually trade the live funded account in front of you guys, and that would be kind of part of the deal, right? So they give me accounts to give y'all. In return, I'm obviously showcasing their platform and things like that. But that may also be beneficial because it'll be a true account there. Right, so you really see how I treat those, how I build them up and things like that. Same. Heard of them, I see a lot of people praise them. Never really mess with them or anything like that. Really just their dashboard. Someone posted their like dashboard and they have one of the best dashboards as far as the journal and like your daily entries and things like that. So if I could use that, kind of show y'all how it works. Get some accounts to give away. Win-win for everybody. I've always thought about that. Not always, I guess. More recently than anything. I just see so many people doing it. I'm like, dang. Smaller followings, less precise. Seems to be the move, though. Seems like most traders, that's like their first route they go to. Try to get the affiliates. So at this point, right, stops in profit. We've actually partialed twice, so I'm going to allow a little bit of a deeper retracement in case we want to fully reprice into this fair value gap and still run. From here, we already really count it as a win. Anything extra is just added profit. So we've recouped losses and some. If we want to create one last run, we'll be a part of it. If not, we'll get stopped out and then we'll call it a day there. It was a little extra work, but we're able to get our profits. Right, obviously hindsight, armchair quarterback. If we would have left the entry where we wanted to, we thought this would be a breakaway originally, especially as we closed back above first presented and left a fair value gap here. Or closed inside first presented, excuse me. If we would have left the entry, that would have been even better. We would have been able to enter there, stack where we did, and then add another. But that is all hindsight and not much hope to go back and brew on it much. Right, instead, as soon as we were thrown out, we understood we were still really on sides. We just were mistaken with where we wanted to get in. It had to give a deeper retracement. That's why we didn't hesitate to re-enter there. Right, market was still showing bullishness, so we weren't really shaken out of that quite yet. Now we're getting that release. We'll see if we fall right back into first presented. We've cleared a lot of the buy side. And wait for it. Oh, maybe we hold the original consolidation here. I am debating even allowing first presented. I think we will. We'll go right here. You said we've been able to partial twice. I'm fine having to stop even closer to break even. I'd rather allow price to run than to have the stop be up here, get stopped out on one remaining contract after we've already partialed out. Under first presented though, that's clear-cut invalidation for me. So I'll throw these up here just so we could see what the day's work's been. But the retest first presented at 1050. So we'll see if this creates a little macro here. 1050 delivering into a discount, and then see if we can't run. That's aggressive though. We might fall right through it. Let's see. Can we catch the falling knife there? Obviously this would need to be a wick, and ideally the swing low. Best case, we get the old bullish candle, no wick to the downside, expansion back above first presented. Wick to the downside already, we look for that low. And cool. So we're out there. We get that retracement now back into first presented. And we'll be content with that for the day. So early on, a little bit of work. Right, we try to get short as we broke through this original barrier. We're trying to get short into just lower targets. We immediately invert that. As we saw, we had entry at the fair value gap. As price created a new structure, we did move it to now this down close candle and this fair value gap here. Catch the swing low, but it needed one more retracement, so we get stopped out on that second entry as we deliver into the original fair value gap we were looking at. As we spoke about from there, we still trusted that this release would come. So now we're just waiting for the next inversion to play off of. So as we invert that fair value gap, we're also getting back above our opening range and our first presented. We trust that for entry. So we catch the swing low again. Now we actually are able to close above first presented. Once we get that, we go ahead and re-enter, catching another swing low. And then from there, we're able to partial at short-term high, and then that external range for the morning. So we fall short of kind of the aggressive target, which was a half standard deviation. That's completely fine. Right? That would have just been a little extra profit on top. And now we're sitting back inside our first presented. So overall, not the cleanest day. A little sloppy on the entries. But at the end of the day, right, we trust the edge. Pans out, we make it back and more. No hesitation. When it presents itself, you have to react. Going forward, really still pretty just ugly, right? We're just stuck in this range. So we were able to get a short-term release, which is nice, but overall, we're really just still moving sideways here. So not a true release, kind of like we've been getting, right, the last few weeks, or few days, excuse me. Those are the runs that we kind of were truly looking for, right? Those runs here, even higher, runs higher. Whereas today was just more of a range-bound activity with one nice move that we were able to take advantage of. So tomorrow we don't have any news. It's Friday. I think we're just going to take that Friday off there. Maybe we went Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're up on the week. Still government shutdown, no news tomorrow. So we don't want to come in tomorrow, right, have a bad trade or have a loss and then have to think about that for the weekend. So we call the week here. We walk away and profit for the week. And we have peace of mind. As far as next week, we actually do. It says that we're going to... Hold up. That's the wrong thing. Sorry. Looking at the wrong calendar. It looked like we had high impact news, but I think that's going to be removed. Yeah, okay. So no high impact news or anything. As you said, government shutdown affects all of that stuff. Next week on the docket, we do have CPI scheduled for Friday. Who knows if that'll actually play out, right? That'll be a tentative release again. But that's the only news we're going to have next week as well. So a little interesting, right? This is the first time I've actually traded in a shutdown as well. Price still gives the runs, but as far as like true conviction on the higher time frames, it's a little hard to trust that. Daily. Let's move all of these. Because yeah, we're really at a spot where that is crazy. That's a huge daily candle. But it seems like that's just a manipulation, and we're going to want to get all-time highs. So we're still going to hold true to that idea that more than likely on a macro perspective, we're going to want to retest this high again before the dump. Okay. Not much to do besides that, right? We'll come in day by day and just play it by ear. So we'll leave you all with that. We will meet up Monday morning. We'll do Monday, 9:25 Eastern to get next week started. Until then, be safe tomorrow if you guys are going to be trading. Have a great weekend, everybody. And we will talk Monday morning. See you guys then.